Hey guys, Evan Ork here, back with another video, and today we're going to be doing a review on the Mezco Godzilla 68 figure. Now this is sadly one of the last figures from the Mezco set. There is of course a whole other Mezco set that has 4 other figures from Destroy All Monsters, but I do not have that set, nor do I have any plans to get it anytime soon. I would also like to clarify that this figure is, in my opinion, really good. I probably think, just to give a heads up, it might not be my favorite. I think Rodan, which I reviewed last week, is more so my favorite for the Mezco set. But this is probably my second favorite, or it's definitely up there, so I'm very excited to review it. I would also like to clarify that even though this is the last figure of the Mezco set, I still have a figure to review next Monday, so don't worry, this isn't exactly the last review for a while yet. So when it comes to my favorite part about this figure, it is the detail. The detail on this figure is very good, and it's something that I think deserves a lot of credit for many reasons. The facial detail, number one, is really spectacular, and in general, this detail in general just really embodies the 68 design in every which way. You have these minor details like the scalings here, terrific sculpture with the spines. As mentioned earlier, facial detail is nice, hands, feet, I mean it's all really good. The tail too, and how the spines go downward, as with most Godzilla figures as it goes down the tail. In general, the detail on this is really good. So let's get into the next thing I like about this figure. The next thing I like about this figure is the articulation. Now, I know I've said this before, but in my opinion, Mezco figures, because they are smaller than Bandai figures, so I'm going to give them this credit, that they should have at least 2 joints of articulation. This figure has 5, and that is something that is really impressive. I know that in general there have been many highs and lows with the articulation. For instance, the Mothra larva was really bad with articulation. However, the Rodan was also much of an improvement, but this is a real improvement. Especially from what we are seeing here, and I'm going to get into articulations that move in a second. So much like the Anguirus, you have the typical arm movements right here, you have the leg movements, and of course you have the head movements, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So yeah, articulation on this is really well done. For it to be at least 2 joints, to wish at least that it has at least 2 joints, for it to have 5 is pretty good. So let's get into the next thing I like about this figure. The next thing I like about this figure is the paint job. Now, the paint job is a solid average on this figure because it really only is 2 colors. There are absolutely 0 booming colors, which is why the paint job doesn't stand out. But the reason why, of course, it's not a con is because there's no real scuffs or anything, and there's not bad shading. In fact, the shading actually, I guess, is pretty decent between the spines and the actual body. Maybe it could have been a little bit improved. However, we have pretty nice paint job here. Again, no scuffs. It's just, the problem is that it's just 2 bland colors that we see on almost every Godzilla, so there's not really much to say. Maybe if it had an open mouth, we were able to see some red in there, then that being a booming color, that would have, made the paint job a little bit better than the way it's viewed as now. So anyways, let's get into the cons of this figure. So when it comes to the cons of this figure, I really only have one major con and very tiny nitpick to say about this. One thing I have to say about the major con, however, is that even though the articulation is good, there is still a glue seal here on the tail. And I know you guys know what my opinion is on glue seal. I hate them. But in general, however, yeah, that's a little bit of a problem. Again, I understand there's good articulation, but it's just these unfortunate annoyances when it comes to glue seals that could have made the articulation even better. And it just was ruined because that chance of it getting better was because of a glue seal. I never understood the purpose of glue seals, nor do I think it looks good on this figure. It's just another annoyance to add into the bunch of cons. As for the very small nitpick, I would have to say that it'd be the leg position. Again, this is the most smallest nitpick of all, because some of you might like the leg position, but I want to mention it as a con because, it is something to look out for, that it's not a typical Godzilla figure where the leg mold is like standing so that it looks like it's an even placement of the feet. If you look here, this one is further back than this one, and that is the only position you can set it at for it to look normal. If you were to have this come over a little bit more so that it was kind of on the same line of evenness with this foot, you would see that there's some space underneath the footing. So the position to which they molded the leg positions is a little bit strange for me. Again, some people might like it, but the problem is that it might look cool for a pose. It doesn't look good for other poses, because the second you do any other pose, it'll look like the foot is above the ground, and that is a little bit annoying to me. But again, some of you might like it, that's why it's a very small nitpick. So in general, I would rate this figure an 8.9 out of 10. I know it's very close to a 9 out of 10, but keep in mind, I think this is probably one of the better ones of the set. I do like the Rodan a lot, but this is also really good as well. Probably maybe better than the Rodan in some ways, but maybe the Rodan's better in general by a little bit. So I definitely recommend you guys get this figure. I hope you enjoyed this review. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys later, and bye-bye.